All right, pro-abortion activists got busy over the weekend holding protests outside the homes of conservative Supreme Court justices and disrupting church services out of anger over the leaked draft opinion overturning Roe v. Wade. Now, threats made against churches ahead of the weekend prompted Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill to press U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland to marshal resources to protect those churches, something that my next guest has done for houses of worship in his state. Joining me now to talk about the left's coordinated campaign to disrupt, intimidate, and even attack is Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Attorney General Paxton, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Tony.
So what is your reaction to what we see happening from the left in response to this draft opinion?
You know, it's sad that we're in this situation. I've certainly never seen it happen where an opinion was leaked to the public before it came out. So that creates issues, obviously, for the court, and obviously they're being pressured from outside sources to change that opinion. I hope that they stick with what the right decision is here, which I believe they got it right if that draft opinion is accurate. And I do think it's important that people do have the right to protest. I have no problem with First Amendment exercise of people's First Amendment rights. However, they have no right to threaten violence, they have no right to threaten property, and they have no right to threaten people.
I agree 100%. I think they have every right to protest. You and I have defended that freedom that people have to speak out. I think it's very important in a republic that people have a right to gather to seek redress of their grievances. However, I think the line stops when they begin to barge into churches and disrupt churches, or they threaten someone in their home. There is a line at which, when you cross, the protest is no longer peaceful. But it doesn't appear that the Biden administration is ready to enforce that red line.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there's no doubt if the shoe were on the other foot, they would be screaming bloody murder if they were in the same situation. The fact that they have really no complaint about the leaked opinion, which they would otherwise if they agreed with that opinion, and the fact that they haven't spoken out against some of the potential threat and violence and harassing these Supreme Court justices, I guess, is no surprise to me, and probably not a surprise to you.
So, General Paxton, I know that you've been leading other attorneys general on a number of issues confronting this administration and their overreach. Has there been conversation among you and your colleagues about protecting the rights of men and women of faith who are going into their churches to worship and having those services disrupted?
You know, we certainly tried to do that during COVID in my state. My office was very quick to put out guidance on whether churches could be shut down and whether the government could have that influence. But as far as this new issue of these pro-abortionists targeting churches, no, we are just beginning to see that. And my guess is that we'll very quickly be discussing what we can do as attorney generals. And you should know there were 24 of us, Texas leading the way on this Dobbs case. We actually wrote the amicus brief suggesting to the court that they'd gotten this wrong, that they had gotten it wrong for decades, and that they should let the states make this decision. So I am pleased that the Supreme Court is moving in that direction, and it looks like it's going that direction with this opinion.
Well, I would think in this draft opinion, the opinion written by Justice Alito is exactly along the lines that you and your Republican colleagues put forth in your brief.
Yeah, we made the argument that the court should have never stepped into this, that they had no right to step into it. It isn't part of their duty to make up law, which everybody knows they did. And that because of that, they've kept changing it based on changing science and changing situations, changing justices. And so there's no certainty in the law for states. And they should just let go of running the show on this and being a little legislative branch of their own and let local states make that decision, let people vote with their feet.
I want to go back to this issue of protecting houses of worship, and I've actually spoken to a couple of your Republican colleagues about the 1994 Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, which was signed by Bill Clinton, FACE. It was designed to go after pro-life protesters, but I believe it was the late Orrin Hatch that actually amended it to include houses of worship, making it a federal crime to interrupt or disrupt or block entrance to a religious service. Now, obviously, we know the federal government's not going to enforce that, but it does allow for state attorney generals to attorneys general to enforce this from a civil perspective. So it might be something that as you get together with the other attorneys general, that you take a look at actually using a law that the pro-abortion community tried to go after pro-lifers as one to protect people of faith from the same type of disruptions.
Well, I don't think so far we've had that issue in Texas. It wouldn't surprise me if we do. And we certainly are open to protecting houses of worship. Clearly, again, part of our First Amendment right is to be able to worship freely, and other people shouldn't be able to prevent you from doing that. Just as they have the right to protest, they don't have the right to prevent people from worshiping.
Just from a stepping back, General Paxton, to more of a observation standpoint, when you see how the left is reacting to this opinion, does this not point to the issue of abortion being so much more than simply a policy issue for them and for the nation? This is really an issue of moral direction that this nation will take. And I think this is a pivotal moment for our nation.
No, I think you're exactly right. I think we faced this during the slavery battle, and our country had a civil war over a very similar issue. And look, it was divided in this country, and fortunately, we moved in the right direction. And I think that I have a lot of hope and optimism because of the Supreme Court decision, because of the fight that so many Americans have gone through over the last 50 years to try to overturn this. And I'm appreciative of all the people, because we need all of us to fight this fight to protect the unborn. And I'm actually optimistic about the future. I know that science is on our side. I know that the truth is on our side. And I truly believe that, God will help us in the right direction if we ask him to. And I truly believe this is an issue that he cares about.
Well, I think to your point, looking back, and I'm not the expert that you are when it comes to the jurisprudence of the Supreme Court, but as I appreciate history, next to slavery, this is probably would be the most significant reversal of the court on an issue.
No, and I think that's interesting that you bring that up. We had the Dred Scott decision, which was clearly decided the wrong way, that didn't protect people of color under the Constitution, to not protect their rights. And that was wrongly decided. We all look back on that and know it was wrongly decided. It was made up. And there's no doubt that the Roe v. Wade had no precedent. It had no law behind it. It was made up. And it was a political decision made by the court, and it shouldn't have been done. And this decision to overturn that is the right decision. And look, that doesn't mean the battle's over. We are still in a battle for life in every state in the union, and we will be probably the rest of our lives. But at least we have the chance to have our elected representatives decide that and influence them appropriately to vote the right way.
That is absolutely correct. Attorney General Ken Paxton, always great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, thank you. Have a great day.
All right.